Everyone, I'm Xu Jiamei. Today I want to share with you about assignment 3 in this class. For question 1, without the consumption tax, the market's equilibrium is point A. At this point, consumer surplus is represented by triangle AP1P5. Producer surplus is represented by triangle AP1P2, and there is no deadweight loss due to the efficient allocation of resources at this point. After the introduction of the consumption tax, the increase in the cost of goods leads to a decrease in supply. So S1 moved left to ST. The market's equilibrium point moved from A to B. At this point, consumer surplus triangle BP4P5 decreases. Because consumers have to pay a higher price, they lose some of their welfare. Producer surplus triangle CP3P2 also decrease because producers actually received a lower price and they lose some of their welfare. Thus, the total welfare of consumers and producers decreases. The deadweight loss that arises is the additional welfare loss to consumers and producers due to the tax-induced market change, which is represented in the diagram as triangle ABC. For question 2, point A serves as the domestic market's equilibrium, or when triangle P2P1A represents consumer surplus and triangle P3P1A represents producer surplus. Without an import tax, foreigner producer benefits from exporting to this market and domestic producer will lobby for a tariff. The market equilibrium at this point is C. Consumer surplus triangle P2PWC and producer surplus triangle PWP3B. After comparing the two, CS is smaller than CSW and PS is larger than PSW, implying that consumers are better off with trade and domestic producers are worse off with trade. When an import tax is introduced, the cost of goods will increase. Most foreign producers will avoid the higher cost by reducing the export of goods in the market. At this time, the supply curve SFT is shifted to the left. By SFT plus tariff, the consumer surplus triangle P2PTF, the producer surplus triangle PTP3D. After comparing, the CST is smaller than the CSW, PST is larger than the PSW, which means that the consumers are worse off with tariff. Domestic producers are better off with tariff. Triangle FGC represents the welfare loss of consumers and triangle DBE represents the welfare loss of producers. There are some represent the deadweight loss due to the import duties. The government, however, gains a tariff revenue of rectangle DFGE. I compare the deadweight loss in problem 1 and 2. They are different in that the import tax is levied on the commodity, which reduces the quantity import. Due to an increase in the price of the commodity, the domestic producer receives a higher price, and the resources are not allocated efficiently. Due to a reduction in the choices and the welfare of the domestic consumer, consumption tax are levied on the sales price and results in inefficient allocation of resources due to the gap between supply and demand as a result of the increase in the price of the commodity, which reduces demand. For question 3, initially, the macroeconomic equilibrium is point A, where output is expressed as a full employment level Y1, the price level is P1, and the inflation is relatively stable. In this stage, employment is usually high because the economy is at its peak. Aggregate demand is strong and firms are producing adequately. The imposition of the consumption tax is followed by a rise in the price of goods and the reduction in consumer disposable income. So consumers will reduce their demand for goods and service. This caused AD1 to shift left to AD2. As a result of the reduction in consumption, the macroeconomic equilibrium points move from A to B. The level of macroeconomic output also decreased from Y1 to Y2, which indicates that the economy will experience a recession and unemployment will rise because of the reduction in production. Firms no longer need to employ as much labor. At this point, employment is likely to be cyclical as competition in the job market will become more intense due to the rising unemployment. At the same time, the price level then falls from P1 to P2. Although the increase in the price of goods is due to the tax, the macroeconomic inflation always decreases as aggregate demand decreases. Because of the reduction in aggregate demand, it is difficult for firms to continue to sell goods at high price, which may lead to a reduction in the rate of inflation. So the price level falls and the economy is in a downturn. For question 4, a tax on unhealthy goods raises the price of such goods, which cause people to consume less of them, reducing demand. So AD1 shifts to the left to AD2. Using the sticking interval model, wages do not adjust easily in the short run, and it takes some time for workers to be negatively affected by higher wages. And therefore, firms' costs of production are not affected much in the short run, and therefore SRAS is unchanged. As workers become negatively paid for an extended period of time to offset the burden of the excess tax, firms may increase their production costs in the long run due to the need to pay workers higher wages and additional tax, which will bring about a reduction in producer supplies. So LRAS1 to shift left to LRAS2. The macroeconomic equilibrium point also moved from B to C in the long run. That is, while output remains constant at Y2, the price level rised from P2 to P3. In the short run, the price level is relatively flat at P2, but as costs rise in the long run, producers gradually pass on the cost to consumers, leading to a rise in price to P3. For question 5. Finally, I would like to introduce this DAG. It simply represents the process of using an empirical econometric model to study the health and economic growth consequence of the factors. First of all, according to the logic of flywheel economics, since factors will cause a certain that weight loss, it will have a negative impact on economic growth. Secondly, due to the impact of factors, the market share of fatty foods that are harmful to health will decrease, which will lead to an improvement in the health of people in the economic. Finally, there is a positive correlation between health and economic growth. The improvement of people's health in the economic will improve their work efficiency and reduce medical losses. Therefore, overall, the improvement of people's health will have a positive impact on economic growth. This is a basic model I envision for studying the health and economic growth consequence of factors. Based on this, I think there may be some confounding variables. For example, my DAGs present the confounding variable named food processing technology. Fat tax will have a positive impact on food processing technology because it will prompt the relevant companies to solve the problems of excessive fat in products. However, it may have unknown effect on personal health because we cannot determine the specific efforts and mechanism of the food processing technology developed under the stimulation of fat tests.